Welcome to our lesson today. Our lesson is about a very familiar type of word in English, which is the stative verb. In this lesson, we will learn about the definition and the uses of stative verbs. Yes, about the uses of stative verbs, categorize stative verbs, and differentiate them from action verbs. So, what is stative verbs? Stative verbs are verbs that express a state rather than an action. They are often related to human sense, emotion, thought, or a person's state. Some commonly used stative verbs include have, possession, like, preference, believe, understand, and so on. There are two important rules when using stative verbs that each individual should take note. Okay, first, we don't use adverbs to modify stative verbs. For instance, to describe an unusual taste, we say this sort tastes strange, not this sort tastes strangely. Okay, or another example is this may seem nice to you, not this may seem nicely to you. And the second rule is stative verbs are not used in continuous tense, meaning they cannot be followed by the ing form. For example, want and hear are stative verbs, right? So we don't say was wanting or having been hearing. Stative verbs can be categorized into four main types. Okay, the first one is the verb that expressing opinion or viewpoint. There are some particular verbs like agree or believe or doubt. For example, I have known Katie since we were at school. So no in these sentences is stative verb. Okay, so let's move on to the next type, that is verb expressing emotion. We have some typical verbs like dislike, hate. And a particular example for this is I wish I were taller. In these sentences, the verb wish is utilized to expressing the desire of the narrator wanting to be taller, to get taller. And the third type is verb expressing possession and measurement. Okay, some particular verbs like own, possess, or have. For example, I have never owned a suit in my life. In this sentence, the verb own is used with the aim to say the possession of the person who never owned a suit. Okay, and the last one, verb that expressing sense. Some particular verbs like feel, taste, look, or smell. For instance, this coffee tastes delicious. Oh, it's expressing the feeling of the person. They feel extremely good when taste this coffee. So now, how do stative verbs differs from action verbs? Action verbs can be conjugated in any tense like present continuous or present perfect, while stative verbs can only be in the simple perfect or present perfect continuous form, meaning they do not have an ing form. Stative verbs will never be used in a continuous form. Yes, verbs can function as both stative verbs and action verbs, but their meanings differ. For instance, think as a stative verb means to believe or consider something, while as an action verb, it means to contemplate or consider. Similarly, feels as a stative verb refers to emotion or sensation, while as an action verb it means to touch or handle. See as an stative verb means to understand or consider something, while as an action verb it means to meet someone or perceive something with the eyes. So there are still a lot more verb functions at both stative verbs and active verbs. You can look for more information through my course. Okay. So in order to clarify the function of active verbs and whether we should use stative verbs in the continuous form, let's dive into an exercises from the course book Global Success in grade 11 to the correct form of verbs to complete the following sentences. The first one, I think or I'm thinking that living in the city is good for young people. So in this context, we should use I think, not I'm thinking, because the person is expressing their opinion about the idea of living in the city is the best for young people. So it just belongs to someone's opinions. So in this case, we should use I think, not I'm thinking. The next one, we are thinking or we think of moving out of the city. Okay, in this context, I will use we are thinking of moving out the city because in this case, it's the action of thinking, right? The person is thinking about the situation of moving out the city. It's like an action on processing. So in this situation, we should use verb continuous in the continuous tense. We are thinking, not a stative verb. And the last one, I don't see or I'm not seeing the building is too far away. In this situation, it's again similar to the first one, the first sentences. It's again so the opinion of the narrator. So we will use, what we will use here? We will use stative verb, I don't see. It's about the thought of the narrator who thinks that the building is too far from his or her position. So we will use stative verbs in this situation. Today we have learned about categorizing stative verbs in English and distinguishing them from action verbs. These are grammar aspects many people tend to confuse, so it's essential to study the theory and examples carefully to avoid mistakes. Thank you for listening to the lecture and see you next time. Goodbye.